evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Food for Thought. I'm Buzzy Zipwhack. This is my good buddy, Silly Way Out Willie.
Good to be back in the studio.
Mother.
Woohoo, folks. How you doing out there now?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, ripping the layers off here, digging down deep. Tonight we're going to be serving up some more teasing information for the mind tonight. But before we go into the main category of our topic tonight, I know, Willie, you had an article that you wanted to bring up out of the American Free Press. Now, this is, before you go into that, I just wanted to hold it up and just show you, that this is where we get a lot of information, and you'll be surprised that you won't find this in the mainstream media. So, Willie, why don't you kick it off with this, because this is quite astounding.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting, folks. There's this guy living up in Plainfield, New Hampshire, with his wife, Elaine. This is Ed Brown. Now, this gentleman is basically having a little standoff at his residence. I guess they refused to pay their taxes since 1996 because when they asked the IRS for the law that says that it's mandatory, or the law that's on the books, they can't come up with a law to prove. So Ed is making a stand for all the people in this country to say, look, and there's a lot of patriots I know from around the country who are supporting him in his effort and are actually going up to New Hampshire to make sure it doesn't become another Ruby Ridge or a Waco situation with the federal marshals. Now, we've talked about Aaron Russo's film in the past, From Freedom to Fascism. Well, that's a documentary that interviews a number of former IRS agents and other authoritative people who say that the powers that be, basically, that when asked to provide a copy of the law that says that taxes are mandatory, well,
there is one.
There isn't one, folks, and they always come up empty-handed. So Russo concluded that the federal income tax applies to anyone or anything. If it does apply to anything or anyone, it applies to corporate capital gains and not the income of individuals, and that the IRS doesn't even define income. So anyway, we'll be having an interview with Aaron Russo with Alex Jones on next week's program.
Yes, sir.
And
that's right. You don't want to miss that one.
Right. We're here ranting about the New World Order and basically, identifying it as a satanic plot to destroy humanity in one way or the other, and how our governments be using it. George Bush Sr.'s behind it, and he's been running all the administrations, including, Reagan, Clinton, and basically, folks, you got to wake up to the fact that before he was president, he was with the UN and the CIA and, into some serious, deep, dark business.
Yes,
folks.
He was. Absolutely was. In regards to the income taxes and all that, there are others as well besides Aaron Russo who have, spoken up. There's quite a number of people who have challenged the IRS to show me the code that we have to even file a 1040. Right. What is definable income? And it's really frightening how they disregard the law. They just throw it out. Aaron Russo's film really exposes the blatant attitude that our law or our government has for its own laws. It's a big hypocrisy. Same thing that Jesus said when he talked about the scribes and the Pharisees. He called them hypocrites and vipers. And that's what we're at today too.
Well, another word on Ed Brown there. He's also the founder of the United States Constitutional Rangers, composed of private citizens who fight back when federal officials, often with the cooperation of state and local officials, deny constitutional rights. And so that's what we're talking about here. In order for the New World Order to come in, we got to get rid of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution and the respect for the president office of this country. And that's what's been going on, and blah, blah, blah. The wearing down our military so we have no way to defend ourselves, blah, blah, blah.
Yep, that's right, And so now, once again, so you don't have to just take our word for it, we do encourage you to go out and seek this information out for yourself. We are going to bring in another friend of ours who... So without any more further delay, here is Sean Coulter.
Crazy. Check it out, folks.
And then there's this whole other code system underneath that. It's like, all right, what does it really say? Because that's the thing that amazes me with this is, you look at words like hemp. It's like, well, that's obviously pre-Masonic per se. It's like that tends to get me like, where did this come from, man? This is, the word. This is just the whole thing with the symbols, man. It's like, well, it's in that word, and you say, well, yeah, because you got the spirit, the pharmacopoeia, you got the M, the master. It doesn't have to be Masonic.
Right.
Right. It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it can be. And that's the thing with this. E is the energy, and it's a control. So you're controlling the dualism of the energy of your master with spirit. You know, so that's what the word says.
Controlling the dualism means that you got the above and
Good
below.
and evil, yeah, or good and evil, black and white, and all of that stuff. That's all it means.
Right.
It's to the 11, like the Trade Center, with a connector. That means it's in balance. That means it's being controlled. That's all it means then. So, you know, that's why you almost have to, like, you know, until I got into Chinese, man, then it's like, no, you actually have to think in a little bit different space, always. And then the sound, because sometimes it's the other way. It's like, well, you won't see it the way it's spelled out. You need to pronounce it. He, MP. You know, now maybe in Masonic, you know, it's like he, you know, well, what is that, man, you know? And you start, like, because some of these words, like B, you know, you'll look at a thing and it's like, that's like IBM. I is, no, that's totally Masonic. IBM is super Masonic, man. It is Masonic. I mean, it's set up for, and it's strangely enough, where's IBM? Oh, they sold it to the Chinese, man. How convenient. And then the Chinese are on every continent on the planet. They've been doing this for like 30, 40 years, man. They don't need to invade anywhere. They're already there. You know, so if they want them as the master race, it's pretty easy to freaking, you know, not that they're going to do anything, but I mean, the Chinese are everywhere, man. They're in South America. They're in, you know, Link TV's been running things on guys 30 years ago that escaped when they put Mao in, you know, swam to Makar or whatever, and, you know, crazy stuff. And, you know, it's kind of funny until you travel around. Everybody thinks, you know, I don't know what people think, really. You kind of have, everything is referenced from, like, the United States. It's total play at Plato's Cave. Absolutely, man. You know? And the thing, you know, like with religions and stuff. You know, I think
Plato's Cave?
Plato's Cave is, everything is referenced from inside the cave. You don't have any reference to any kind of reality besides what's given to you within. Everything they describe about reality is within the cave.
And it's if you were to walk outside of the cave, you would see it's all different.
Yeah, you would see that it's totally different. Actually, the way this thing is running is Republic from Plato and Plato's Cave. The whole freaking thing is run off of that. Like, that's what freaks me out, man. It's like, you know, it's like to try to get people to freaking, because you got to kind of get past your religion and stuff, you know, that was given to you. Like, you know, to me, there's God, and it's like, well, I've checked out everything, and it's kind of like everyone, like, to me, Christianity is compassionate God. You know, and he was kind of a political activist too. You know, he was, you know what I mean? He wasn't into government. And, you know, then you go into Buddhism, it's about mind, and it's about dualism. You know, that's basically the reference is. Then you go into Islam, and they have 72, which is interesting, names for God. And they believe Jesus is a savior. They believe Buddha is a savior. Muslims, the original Muslim, they couldn't fight back. And then later it was like Muhammad, then they said, well, no, you could defend yourself. Because they were getting wiped out. And Islam, that cube, Mecca, that's the Borg ship, dude. Because they're very easy to control, man. So, like, for me, it's like, you know, yeah, I believe in God, but not necessarily 100% of what was given to me from any one thing. Because they all have something valuable. And, you know, to me, it just can't be put in one book. Especially when I know there's this coding going on here, man. You know, it's like, hold on a minute, man. So, basically, God is silent, and P usually represents God.
The letter P?
Yeah, the God that's been given to you, but God is silent. That's why the P is silent. And you'll see in churches, they have the P.
Mm-hmm. With the X.
With the X, with the cross.
Right, the letter, the P, and then the cross is the base of it kind of thing?
That's the pharmacopoeia. You'll see that. You know, then that got changed into RX for your pharmacies.
That's
RX
right,
is actually the P with an X right up next to it. That's what it is. It means the power of God. And it's silent. That's why the P is silent.